for the most powerful data storage device ever created, the 5D Superman Memory Crystal.
One of the new ways scientists are working on data storage is the 5D quartz crystal, and this is a way of keeping a huge density of data in a relatively small object. This is an incredibly secure and lasting way of encoding data because the data is actually physically encoded into the crystal. It's in there forever until that quartz is destroyed, and it's very hard to destroy that quartz.
In 2018, tech entrepreneur Novus Vivat used a 5D quartz crystal to create a permanent space library and sent it into orbit aboard the SpaceX Heavy Falcon rocket.
Quartz is very stable. It's a crystal. It doesn't change even for billions of years. So if you put data in quartz, it's going to last basically forever.
At the University of Southampton in England, Dr. Peter Kazansky demonstrates to author and ancient astronaut theorist Andrew Collins just how this new 5D quartz technology works.
This is a kind of quartz glass which we use for writing. This particular one is a bare sample. No information here.
How much information could you put into this small piece of crystal glass?
Potentially, on this particular size, we can put about 30 terabytes, which is equivalent to about 800 Blu-ray discs.
800 Blu-ray discs?
Yes. We estimate that maybe 1,000 will be enough to store information in British Library.
This tiny piece of quartz glass is able to store the same amount of information as 600 standard smartphones. And the amount of 5D quartz drives it would take to store the entire British Library could fit in a shoebox.
So potentially, all of the information in the world can now be stored indefinitely.
Yes, that's correct.
To demonstrate how the technology works, Dr. Kazansky transfers a copy of the Bible onto a quartz drive.
This is how this process starts. This digital data which we use here is transferred into glass.
What we're looking at here then is the very first stage of converting the Bible, in this instance, into data which can be stored within one of these memory crystals.
Yes, exactly. That's correct. We'll take the glass on a high precision stage which can move in 3 dimensions. Additional 2 dimensions are introduced by special optics inside the smoking station which can control polarization and also intensity of light.
The laser sends pulses into the quartz glass, producing a grid of nano-sized dots or voxels. A traditional storage device, like a CD, stores information in pixels, and each pixel can hold 1 bit of information. In a quartz drive, each voxel can hold 8 bits of information.
So stored within here now is the entire Bible within this tiny memory crystal. So potentially this could now be preserved forever.
Yes, that's correct. It can be preserved for virtual eternity.
It's incredible.
The technology that Dr. Peter Kazansky and others are developing is still in its infancy. But is it possible that some memory drives could have existed in the ancient world?
Ancient civilizations clearly had very advanced technologies for working with stone. They had advanced technologies for working with crystal and with metal. It's a reasonable question to ask. If a previous civilization was so advanced it could build a pyramid, could it have encoded data as well in a form that we haven't figured out yet?
Could it be that embedded within the stone giants of the ancient world are massive amounts of data? Perhaps further clues can be found by examining colossal stone heads unearthed in Central America that are magnetically charged. La Democracia, Guatemala, June 2019. A team of researchers from MIT, Harvard, and Yale announced that they have discovered unusual magnetic anomalies within the colossal stone heads attributed to the Monte Alto, a Mesoamerican civilization that emerged around 1800 BC.
these statues were totally aware of these magnetic fields. And that is something that shocked modern archaeologists, that this rather primitive culture, they thought, was aware of magnetism, and that they actually chose certain rocks because of the magnetic field.
In Mexico, similar statues created by the Olmec civilization were also found to emit magnetic anomalies. These intricately carved heads vary in height from nearly 5 feet to over 11 feet tall. Their largest weighing approximately 50 tons. Like the Monte Alto sculptures, most of these heads were made from basalt.
Basalt has large quantities of iron and magnesium in it. The Olmec were so precise with knowing where the magnetic fields were that they actually carved the structure around these anomalies. So when scientists use a magnetometer around the stone statue, they notice the nose and the cheeks, around the chin, the magnetic fields are strongest there.
The great heads of the Olmec are made of basalt. Basalt is a volcanic substance, and the closest source to many of these heads is anything up to 100 miles away. And this is interesting because I don't think it's physically the case that the basalt was easy to sculpt into the forms of heads.
Basalt is dense, it's very, very heavy, thick rock, and it's very difficult to work with, let alone carve with rudimentary tools like flint, because they range higher on Mohs test as far as density, and flint is a much softer material than basalt. So it's difficult to understand how they carve these things, and the intricate detail on some of them is just incredible.
With these stone giants, it really is a question as to why they chose these specific types of rock. Like granite, we find it's very crystalline, it's also electrically conductive. We find basalt, which is volcanic, again this is very magnetic, and so again it can be conductive for various different purposes. And so what's going on here? Were they specifically choosing certain rock for technological reasons?
When we look at how the ancients were selecting certain stones that were magnetic and certain energies, we wonder how they could know about all of the properties of these stones. Are they getting this information from extraterrestrials? looking at these objects primarily at the macroscopic level. What do they look like? But maybe there's information inside them encoded using nanotechnology. Why is that likely? Because we ourselves are doing the same thing by trying to store information for thousands or millions of years. You end up going to the same physical materials and solutions that the hypothetical ancient aliens may have also figured out how to use.
If extraterrestrials taught early civilizations how to encode data in stone, as ancient astronaut theorists suggest, what information were they trying to preserve? Perhaps further clues can be found by examining a number of megalithic sculptures that stand in the jungles of Honduras. Mysterious stone giants depicting a divine ruler who could see into both the past and the future. Copan, Honduras. This ancient site, located deep in the jungles of the Yucatan Peninsula, served as one of the most important city centers of the Mayan Empire. The Maya thrived between 2000 BC and 900 AD, and are celebrated for having a vast knowledge of astronomy, mathematics, writing, and architecture.
The Maya were one of the longest lasting and most expansive civilizations that our planet has ever known. Geographically, they covered an area from the top of the Yucatan Peninsula and the Caribbean all the way down to the Pacific coast of Guatemala. It bled into what's now today Mexico and Honduras.
It was thought that the great city of Copan at one time covered an area like 10 square miles, something like 20,000 people. But sometime in the 9th century, this incredible Mayan city was abandoned, its people vanished, and it was swallowed by the jungle overgrowth.
The ruins of Copan include dozens of elaborately carved stone statues, or stelae, depicting Copan's semi-divine rulers. These larger-than-life figures, covered with hieroglyphic writings, provide an intriguing account of how ancient cultures revered the heavens.
Copan is a place where even the archaeologists agree that the celestial realm was built on Earth in order to show as above, so below. And in Copan, we have the in-between level right there laid out in this amazing archaeological structure.
October 2019. Ancient astronaut theorist Giorgio Tsoukalos travels to Copan to meet up with renowned Mayan archaeologist David Sadat, who has been involved in the excavation of the site for more than 3 decades.
David, great pleasure to meet you. Well, I've been looking forward to this. I'm sure you have a lot of things you want to see. Yes, I do. So, David, what are we looking at here?
Well, this is the Great Plaza. It's over 100 meters larger than a football field. And it's the southern portion of the Great Plaza where the majority of the great standing stone giants that you'll come to see are located.
Before examining Copan's stone giant